Now, just notice that the template I'm using says 150. It really is 212. It says data transfer. In the year 2000, Digicorp, a data management firm, began transferring files from antiquated databases, storing them in more modern systems, measured in years after 2010. So if I were to look at a number line, 0 would be 2010. So 2010 would be essentially t equals 0. So if I move forward from 2010, it's positive. Backward from 2010, it's negative. And then they gave us the function r of t is 30 times 6 minus t. And it says, what is the domain of r? Well, one thing for sure, I can't have a negative under the radical. So 6 minus t has to be less than or equal to, or excuse me, greater than or equal to 0. Going the wrong direction there. Or that minus t is greater than or equal to minus 6, or t is less than or equal to 6. So essentially, I can't put any number in that is bigger than 6, and that makes sense, because if I put like 7 in there, I'd have 6 minus 7. I'd be taking the square root of a negative number. So it says all my t values have to be smaller than 6. Now it says how many databases were present when Digicorp began the transfer, and that says they began the transfer in the year 2000, which is going to give me a t value of negative 10, because 0 is 2010. So I'm going to then calculate out r of negative 10, which is the square root of 6 minus a minus 10, which is the square root of 6 plus 10, or 16, or 4, and again, I forgot this, I did this when I did my notes out. There's a 30 there, times 30, which is 120 databases. So they started with 120 databases, and they are now going to be moving and to move them, hopefully, downward. How many databases still remain to be transferred out of the 120 in 2007? And remember, R of t is the number of databases remaining to be transferred. So 2007 is still smaller than 2010. So 2010 or 2007 will give me a t value of negative 3. So this would be r of negative 3, which is 30. Make sure I get that in there. Times the square root of 6 minus a minus 3, which is 30, times the square root of 9, which is 30 times 3, or 90 databases still needed to be transferred in 2007. And it says approximately how many databases had been transferred. Now that's tricky because of the way it's worded. And it says not needs to be transferred, but had already been transferred as of 2011. 2011 is a t-value of 1. So remaining to be transferred in 2011 is r of 1, which is 30 times the square root of 6 minus 1, which is 30 times the square root of 5, and 30 times the square root of 5 is going to be equal to approximately 66 databases. However, that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is how many had been transferred. So, had been transferred is the number of databases I started out with, which is 120, subtract what remains to be transferred, which is 66. So what has already been transferred is going to be 54 databases. So now it's kind of like thinking our way through the problem. It says the data transfer was scheduled to be completed by 2015. Will they accomplish their goals? Well, that says that if I calculate out how many databases still need to be transferred in 2015, it should be 0 if it's complete. 2015 gives me a t-value of 5, because it is 5 years. It is 5 years after 2010. So let's see, how many remains is r of 5, which is 30 times the square root of 6 minus 5, which is 30 times the square root of 1, which is just 30. And it says that we have 30 databases to transfer. So the answer is no. Data transfer will not be complete completed it by 2000.